Wow, Alex, that was a weird episode we did, huh?
Yeah, it's almost like a fever dream of podcasts past.
Yeah, exactly. We saw delve past, delve present, delve future, which is weird because they're all in the past now. So
Exactly. Where it should be
where it
in
should
the
be. Yes,
past.
yes. We saw the total, the pebble, and the knockdown. Which, well, hey everybody. By the way, welcome to Total Pebble Knockdown. I'm Nathan.
And I am Alex.
And we have a show today that is actually all about glitches and bugs. Because if you listened to the last episode, you might have noticed things were a little wacky on that one. Oopsie
And they were wacky on purpose.
Yes, and if there was anything that did go wrong that we did not intend, we are also saying that that was on purpose.
Exactly. Everything has gone exactly as planned.
Which actually brings us to our first topic of conversation. We're going to do a little crit think today, which is about when things go bad. Is it actually really good?
Yes, but also no.
This is basically the so bad it's good discussion that has plagued many mediums over
Has
the years.
plagued Bethesda.
It's plagued Bethesda. I don't even know if Bethesda necessarily falls into that camp. You know, there was one famous game from a long time ago that I think Mandalore Gaming did a whole playthrough of that was like Mystery of the Druids. That was like a point and click adventure, but it was just so inordinately bad that they it became almost a cult classic because of how bad it really was. There was another one that I actually own that I haven't played yet called Anachronox that came from Ion Storm, and in the same year, this is the amazing thing about Ion Storm. So they made Anachronox, which was like the one everyone said was hilariously bad, maybe on purpose, maybe not. They had Daikatana, which was legendarily bad for being bad, and then they had Deus Ex, which was known as one of the greatest games of all time. So the three of those, same year, they released all of them.
Well, we can tell where their energy went.
Yes, we certainly can. All to Warren Spector, not to John Romero. But the other ones that we usually see as examples in movies, it's like usually The Room. It's the oh hi mark of that genre. And the other one that they usually cite is like Indigo Prophecy. You know, these games that just seem like they're so not even in terms of the bugs themselves, but just the whole game structure, the story, none of it makes any sense, but it's just kind of fascinating for the fact that it is so absolutely insane.
I think one of the games that Yahtzee said would have fallen under this would have been like Balan Wonderland, I think.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
I know he did the best and worst, best, blandest, and worst, I think, this year.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I figure that there's a difference between being bland and being bad.
Yeah. And the fun thing about it is when he was discussing why he started doing that, it was because bland games in a lot of ways are worse than bad games.
Yeah, exactly.
Bland games are just like completely forgettable. You don't care about them at all. Bad games, though, you remember. Maybe for the wrong reasons, but you remember.
Did he say Balan Wonderland was bad or bland? I couldn't remember.
Oh, I think that was bad, and I think it was actually the worst, if I remember from his list. I also remember.
I think it was.
I also remember, big respect to Yahtzee, because I was also in this camp. Best game of the year he had is Psychonauts 2, because.
Worst you would be.
Yes, which he was like. I mean, it was also a pretty, bland year, but yeah, Psychonauts 2, which is not a bad game, but you should still play it. Hot take, but my question is, like, when do you get to a point where the game that you're playing, you can recognize that it's bad, but you still want to keep playing it. In a lot of ways, because it is so bad, you just have to see what happens next.
It's just like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think in tabletop it's different, because if a game's bad, you don't want to keep playing it.
Right.
Because usually if it's bad, it's either because generally if the game itself is bad, then you're not going to want to keep playing it. Because it's like, all right, well, it's not a video game. It's not pulling me through a story that is atrocious. But if the story is bad, it's all on your games master.
Right.
Or the campaign that you're running, if it's pre-written.
Yeah.
But a video game pulls you through the narrative itself. It's not like you have person-to-person interaction with that as much. So
sure.
I feel like that's like, okay, but I need to see what they decided to do with this. Right.
Exactly.
One series I have been watching on YouTube of bad games, or so bad they're good, or whatever, is the worst MMO ever series by Josh Strife Hayes.
Sure.
It is great. It is terrible. He's playing pretty much every free-to-play MMO he can find.
It's a horrible landscape, I'll tell you.
It's a terrible landscape, but one of them he did called Otherland, I think.
Oh.
Or other. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one.
No.
But it's when he started playing it, he's like, this is like, the visuals are breathtaking for the time it is, anyways. He's like, this is like amazing, and then like it's offset by just how absolutely bonkersly bad some of the other systems and stuff are. But he's like, but this is gorgeous. He's like, I have to keep playing this. He's like, how many people are playing this? I'm the only person in the world playing this game at the beginning. He did a 10-part series of that. He's like, I want to get like all of these 4 achievements that like pretty much nobody has on Steam for this game, and I want to play through and see to the end.
Yeah.
So by the end, he's like, he went on the auction house, and he's like, I'm the only person there's nothing posted here. This is weird on an MMO.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
By the end of it, he actually had like several other people that were playing the game because they were watching his series that were actually on. He had an interview with the people that owned it now and whatnot, and they actually fixed 1 or 2 issues because of his videos. Like the music wasn't playing, and it's like, oh, we can fix that. So they fixed that. It's like, it was, I listened to the entire series at work. I didn't see most of it. And I was like, I have no idea what this looks like, but you've painted such a good word artistry that I don't need to look at it, because it's just, everything you're saying sounds great. Anyways, TLDR, so bad that it was good.
Right. Since he plays a lot of like the MMOs, did a certain title come up called Atlas?
Probably.
Okay. Because I figured that would probably be up his alley. Atlas was one of those big MMOs. It was a pirate-themed one. I think I might have mentioned it briefly on another episode. But it was legendarily, like, brokenly bad. Like, it just hilariously bad when it originally launched. And I kind of figured that that's still out there. I don't know if it's ever gotten out of game preview, but it was out there. And then there was another one that I remember that was, it was supposed to be a little bit like Diablo, but it was also incredibly, like, just so glitchingly bad that people were having fun completely exploiting it. I think Spiffing Brit did a bunch of videos about it. I want to say Valheim, but it's not. It's Van something. I can't remember it, because Valheim's a different subject altogether.
Valheim's apparently good.
Valheim's apparently very good and impressive for the team that actually built it. Very small team. But I think it started with a V. If anybody knows, go ahead and tell me.
No idea.
Go ahead and tell me in the
comments. Tell
comments.
us in the comments.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it. Think a couple years back. I think it came out. But Do you think it's I don't necessarily think that people who make those games go in with the idea that they're going to make a bad game. I think they go...
I hope not. I hope people do not. I mean, there is something to be said for making something intentionally bad on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is the entire premise of the movie, The Producers.
Right. Right.
Like there is an entire industry of subpar movies.
Right.
Not The Producers itself. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
But you know, making subpar movies, I think in other countries, I think primarily, banking on them doing terribly because you can recoup the costs and make more for a flop than you can for a success.
Right. Right.
For what I don't remember the details of it. I don't think that exactly works in the gaming industry.
Right. I remember this from The Producers. It was basically the whole notion of The Producers, for people that are not familiar with one of Mel Brooks' seminal works.
Also, if you haven't seen The Producers, go watch it.
Go watch
especially
The
the one
Producers.
with Nathan Broderick in it.
Yeah, you mean
The
Matthew
newer one?
Broderick and
Sorry.
Nathan Lane?
Yeah, thank you. I got him. I just
Nathan
wanted
Broderick.
to combine them.
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan Broderick.
You made their couple name. Good job.
Yeah,
Nathan
I mean,
Broderick.
it's fine. The new version is really good. It's really, really,
Yeah.
really good.
Yes.
If you're a fan of Doctor Who, it's got John Barrowman,
Oh.
who played Jack Harkness.
Mhm.
He actually plays one of the lead tenor for the Nazis,
Oh,
which
yes.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because
Does he
he
get to
is.
sing "Springtime for Hitler"?
I think he does.
Okay,
I think he does
perfect.
sing that.
Okay.
Which is just kind of hilarious because he's actually gay,
Yes.
or bi, either one. So it's like, wait, he's okay, but he's singing okay.
Yeah,
It's got Will Ferrell in probably one of the best roles I've ever seen Will Ferrell in.
Yes.
I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, but he did great in that.
Yeah. I actually saw the original one that had Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel in it, and that still holds up very well.
Was it? Okay, I haven't seen the original, but I did like the new one. Anyways,
Yes.
you were saying,
Anyway.
spoiler.
Generally, what The Producers was about is that there's this character, which would either be the Nathan Lane or the Zero Mostel, depending on what version you're looking at, that is never able to actually get like a play off the ground. Just produces flops all the time. Always trying to get funding for their movie, or their play, I should say. And then just like they keep losing money because it's just bad. So comes up with an idea with the help of either your Gene Wilder or Matthew Broderick character, who comes in as, I think they were an accountant, I want to say. Yeah. That's kind of like going, my goodness, I mean, let's face it, if you could just get enough investors together, and you could over-invest in it, like by 500%, and it flopped, you could actually make a lot more money on that. Because the investors will realize that it's a flop, consider it a complete loss, but you've funded it 500 times, or 500% of what you were supposed to fund it at, so you just pocket the rest of the money from a flop. The problem is that if it's a hit, now you have to pay back 5 times the amount that it made.
Right.
Right.
And I think that works for that, and I think that's probably what happens with those movies that are flops in other countries because of similar things, which is why you get really shitty superhero movies
Sometimes.
and the like at times where you're like, wow, this is really written off. But I don't think that would work so well in like the gaming space, because then you get something like No Man's Sky,
Oh, sure.
and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this has a ton of investment into it, and the product is subpar, and suddenly everyone's like, well, you told us you were giving us this, we're suing the shit out of you.
Right.
And either you deliver or you give us our money back.
Right. So I don't think that it necessarily works in practice in the real world. It's fun for the premise of The Producers, but it doesn't really work for most things. I would also say that there's like Kickstarters that ended up happening where the games were subpar, but they got very funded, very funded. The mighty number 9s of it all. that got very funded and then weren't particularly great. But in terms of like things that are bad and then they intend them to be bad, I've seen movies like that, and I feel like they're like not another teen movie sort of movies that just, in their attempt at trying to be bad on purpose, they kind of become bland for the fact that they tried to do it. Like the best bad is where you really wanted this to be like your magnum opus, your grand masterpiece, and it was horrid. And there's something in the genuineness of how bad that Trainwreck was that makes it somehow better.
Right.
I think so. If you're watching something or you're playing something and they intended it to be really stupid, and you're like, well, you succeeded. Because you succeeded. And I guess that's a win. But if you have the ones that are just really bad unintentionally, those are cream of the crop. No one who made Balan Wonderland, I think, had any intention of it being a bad game. I think they actually were like, we could make a Mario. Or something like that. You could have different hats, and you could put them on your head. It would be amazing. And then they're like, yeah, you didn't make Mario, my friend. You made an abomination. Good job. I have a tendency, maybe because I don't intentionally play a lot of bad games.
Same. I prefer to not play games that are terrible.
I mean, sometimes I will, if I've heard that a game is bad, like I've heard people really say, this game is really shit, I'll be like, okay, I kind of want to play it to find out what that's about. I want to know why it is bad. Like this last year, it was, well, there were probably a couple, but the one that sticks out to me is Dark Alliance. I had heard...
Oh, the new one, yeah.
Yeah, Dark Alliance. And Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, not Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Whatever.
Which is also now on Steam.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, there's a PC port now. Not that I want to play it on PC, I own it on PlayStation.
Yeah, as long as it's the first Dark Alliance, or the original...
First or second one. Yeah, no, it's that one.
The ARPGs, yeah, not the abomination that they made this time. But... I mean, the truth of the matter is, though, then I got to play it, because I was thinking, whoa, I'm going to have one heck of a time enjoying the absolute terribleness, and then I played it and was like, actually, I think this would fall more into the bland category than the bad category.
Right.
I think the reason why it was bad was because it really doesn't do much of anything. But I've played my fair share of games that were just horrid.
Yeah.
And
we made you play DDLC.
Yeah, you did make me play DDLC. Hey, I played Hatoful Boyfriend.
You played Hatoful Boyfriend.
I did. But more importantly, since we did the free game, I did that free game marathon thing, I played Kattastik. And Kattastik is... Man. It's just... It's the kind of game that's like free, I think, on pretty much every single platform. And I sit there and I think, man, if you ever want to see what a train wreck of a game looks like, just go play that. It's for those who don't know, it's basically like it's supposed to be a cute game, I guess, that's like a platformer, like a classic 2D platformer Mario style, where you have a cute little character and it's supposed to be going along. But my God. It is so, like the very first level is literally like I jump, and then I jump and jump, done, and then you wait longer for the next thing to load. It doesn't automatically go into the next thing. It goes back to a level picker screen, so that you have to pick the next level, and then they'll load the next level in for you. It's just... Oh. Yeah.
Here's an example. I played a demo of a game, and I don't remember what it's called right now. And it's like, okay, the premise sounds interesting. You know? So I downloaded the demo and played it. And, like, it's generic Unity-looking game. Sure. You know, it's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. But one of the things was 8 p.m. because it's like a survival type game where you've got a day-night cycle and you can only do things during the day.
Sure.
It's like, all right, you can only do things during the day. At like 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, you've lost all your energy and you have to sleep. It's like you can't do
Sure.
anything anymore. You have to go to bed. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I don't really prefer that kind of thing because if it's I run out of energy and I have to sleep to restore the energy, it's one thing, but I don't have like an energy bar. It's just like,
Yeah.
sorry, it's too late in the day for you to do that. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But then you had to go to sleep. But here's the thing. Usually if you sleep in a game, it will go, all right, well, here's a time skip
Yeah.
to the morning. This game didn't do that. It went, okay, now you've got to watch this thing for like 5 minutes overnight
Mhm.
where you can't do anything at all because you're just sitting there like looking at a campfire or something like that. It's like, I'm like, what's going on? Can I skip this? Can I skip this? Can't skip this. I'm like, I'm just watching the time go by and like game time. I'm like, when do I get to wake up? I'm like, and then it has this screen like end of day summary and it's like, okay. And that's up there for like a minute. I'm like,
Yeah. Can we get to the part where I play the game?
yeah,
be
I was
great.
like, okay, you didn't offend me when you said I had to sleep at 8 p.m. That's whatever. I can deal with that. You offended me
Right.
in my time when
Yeah.
you said I could not forward the time faster to get through the night and had to wait through a 5-minute nothingness. It's like, okay, well now I guess I'll get up and go pee and get a snack because I can't play my game at
Yeah.
all for this amount of time. And I looked in the like Steam comments and it's like other people are like, yeah, that's unnecessary and pointless and get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Needless to say, I uninstalled the demo and do not plan on purchasing it unless it ever gets better.
Yes.
Ever.
Was this supposed to be like a survival game?
Kind of, yeah. Like you build stuff and you plant stuff and
Oh, there's
kind
a.
of do stuff.
I feel like survival games are one of those genres that are a minefield for terrible, for the so bad it's good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the survival game that I played that most exemplified that, and I kind of wish it was even worse so that I would have more interest in talking about it, was Conan Exiles from a few years back.
Oh.
Conan Exiles is one of those games that will make you wait for freaking ever to do anything at all. I started my own world just so that I could have like 10x collection and time frames. So like I sped everything up that I would need to speed up by 10 times.
Yeah.
And still,
Jesus.
to just get like charcoal or to have something like, I had to wait like 30 minutes to an in-game hour for stuff to happen. There was this whole thing where you were supposed to have these little guys go around and like you were trying to like break their will, or you were trying to make they were making something at one of the factory posts. I swear, and I'm at 10x time frame. The timer on this to make the one thing was like 8 hours.
Time gating is a thing.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there kind of like going, are you telling me that this would be like 80 hours? Not in game hours, real world hours. Where I'm just like, I don't plan to play. I'll be done playing the game by the time these timers are off.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So there was that. But yeah, survival games feel like they lend themselves mostly to that. I never really appreciated those. So in some ways, I feel like there are games that were so bland, I really wanted them to be worse. Like, if you're just going to lean into it, just lean into it.
Yeah. If you're gonna make something terrible, lean into it. So
make Super
much.
Benbow Quest.
Yeah, make Super Benbow Quest,
Yeah.
which is so fucking
It's
great
time.
because it's so ridiculous.
Exactly.
I know you got frustrated with it at the end of it and towards some of it, but like
Yeah.
it didn't take itself seriously at all.
And it is mercifully short if you can get through the actual the things where I have to like jump in one direction and then kind of like try to curve back just slightly to reach the invisible ledge.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
And it was like, you know, it didn't take itself seriously and it was ridiculous enough, I think, that the humor in it made up for much of it.
Right. The fact that it was just very odd. Like
It was just
throughout.
fucking balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it certainly
But
is.
it was I thought you'd enjoy it because of the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
where you're Mr. Skellebones.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Skellebones.
You've got a skeleton made of skeleton heads.
Yeah, just the giant skeleton head in the sky. That was actually my favorite part. The big bad guy that just comes up. Yo, fucker! Like, it's just out of nowhere, just angry for no reason whatsoever.
Right. In that game, obviously it's super much a troll game.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also just like, okay, you did not take... This was you not being serious, but also being serious. And they leaned into their game entirely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what makes that good.
Sure.
As opposed to bland, as opposed to bad, it's just like, all right, this is interesting. It's got a premise. It leaned so hard into it.
Right.
It's like, this is potentially so bad that it's good.
Right. There's also the whole thing where it's potentially so bad that it just becomes performance art. Like it becomes basic. It's sort of like how the Jackass movie, when it originally premiered, it was at the Museum of Modern Art, because it's you don't remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, MoMA hosted the actual premiere of the original Jackass movie, because in some ways it's like, yes, this is so absolutely ridiculous. It's sort of artistic in its own way. Like it's just a piece of art.
Wow.
It's the banana stuck to a wall that ends up selling for so much money.
It's the stuff that looks like trash on the art exhibit floor that is actually the exhibit, and the janitor cleaned it up.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what I'm saying is that, like, Super Benbo Quest is the dadism of video gaming. it's a dadist video game movement. There's something out there for that. I don't know if we're really going to see versions of, like, The Room but in video game form. I think that maybe it's a little bit harder to do that as it is in movies, where it's just so surreal that you're watching it as when you're playing it. I haven't had that experience before. I kind of like the idea of just, like, having a video game where all you do is just, like, throw forks, or you throw spoons at your enemies. That would be pretty sweet.
You should just play Superliminal.
Oh, I have to play Superliminal, actually. I still have to do that.
You should do that sometime. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love that kind of puzzle game too.
Yeah.
Those are always fun. It reminds me a little bit of, like, Portal or Quantum Conundrum, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, was there anything else on this topic we needed to cover?
No, but you know what?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Or have we been so bad at this that it's good?
Well, as long as we weren't bland.
True.
We can be as bad as we want as long as it's not bland.
Yeah, we gotta be a little bit spicy.
Gotta be spicy.
Gotta add that little bit of nutmeg.
Gotta all the nutmeg. Yeah.
Well, not all the nutmeg. That is poison.
Yes, and also you will fail in Cooking Simulator. Found that out. This is a crit think, though. We do have to pass a question along to everybody else. And I think that the question is probably just going to be, what would you consider to be a bad game that you liked? And
a bad
why?
game that you loved, and why?
The bad game that you loved, and why?
Good question. I'll have to think of that myself.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with something.
Maybe we'll have a Saturday special for this one later.
Yeah. And also, who defines what the bad game is? I guess that's
Me. I define who's.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I guess that's the thing. You have to define that the game that you can define that you know the game is bad in your own opinion, but you still really liked playing it. You loved it nonetheless. If you have answers to that, you can join us over in Discord or leave comments down below in the video. So, on today's Delving Deeper, we are going to be
Not delving deep.
Or delving deepest.
We're delving deeper, not delving deepest.
That's right.
We did that last week.
Yes. Not too hot, not too cold. Just right.
Just right.
Just a little deeper. Delving deeper, we are talking about mistakes as a feature. And so this is a little bit different than just bad games and whether they are good. What I wanted to talk about were some of the examples of games that actually had glitches, bugs, stuff like that in it, that ended up becoming iconic to the games themselves. Essentially,
I think I know one of the examples you might be going with here.
Oh, do you?
Maybe. But go on. Go on.
Okay. You can tell me what you think it is after I tell you what the general idea is. But there had been a point, especially with video games, this isn't necessarily something with tabletop, or at least it doesn't present itself up at the start as much, except for maybe the wizard being just a really funny thing that from D&D.
No, if we're going with mistakes as a feature for D&D, it is the bard being able to summon an instrument, and that instrument being anywhere within 20 feet of you, and you being able to summon a baby grand piano 20 feet in the air.
Oh, that would be great. I didn't know you could do that.
You can't anymore.
Oh, okay.
But that is for tabletop, that would be a mistake as a feature that people abused the shit out of. So they went, okay, in future editions, we're gonna fix that.
Right.
Because the bard summoning baby grand piano to drop on their enemy's head, a little bit broken.
Yeah, but I
just like the piano once it falls.
Yes, all of my hopes and dreams and the piano have broken.
Have been shattered.
Have been shattered. Thank you, bards. Anyway, the thing is, though, in video games, what happens a lot of times is that something will happen in the game, in the programming, that they did not intend, that ends up being such an interesting thing that people love that they just make it a feature of the game or series from that point forward.
I feel like you're talking about Bethesda.
You know, one of the things that they often cite with Bethesda was in Skyrim.
Yes.
They had the what was it, the giant spaceship thing?
That's the one I expected you to be thinking of.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, the giants, when they hit you with their clubs, have a chance of making you take off like a rocket, hitting you extremely far.
Yeah.
And so they went, oh, that's a bug. And they patched it out. And then the community went, no, we love that.
Yeah.
Put it back in.
Yeah.
And Bethesda went, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
so they put it back in.
Yeah.
Because they're like, everyone seems to think this is great. Because it is great.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hilarious when you're like, no, wham, boo, and you just take off, and it's like, well, I'm dead, there's my horse, that's dead, and you fall to the ground 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, it's just, it's lovely. It's lovely. There's also the ability, if you can get your horse on like a vertical angle or something like that, and they like you dismount, it will like catapult you over the landscape. And if you
I don't think that's a feature.
I don't think that's a feature, but they definitely didn't patch it out because no one was complaining. Also, I would say like the Dawnstar chest, which is another one that I think people, they could have probably patched out, but people like it so much that, you know, all the traders in the game essentially have to have a chest to get their inventory from, and there happens to be this one chest in Dawnstar that's like, if you get behind one rock, the chest is actually under the ground, and you can select it and go into that that NPC's inventory. So that's fun. But you know what? There's a lot of other really good ones that we can talk about, and I think we should probably start with one of the oldest ones, which is about Space Invaders. Do you know the Space Invaders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know that one.
Yeah.
That's because at the time when they made Space Invaders, they were running on kilobytes?
If they were lucky. I think it was a hamster wheel.
It was a hamster wheel. But essentially, they had coded it so that the enemies, shifted, moved down, shifted, moved down, shifted, moved down. But as the enemies kept getting killed, it was freeing up space on the board because they didn't have to render those assets. Yeah, so it was freeing up space, and it was making the entire game speed up.
Yeah, when the creator eventually started, I guess they intended to actually have it be faster than the normal speed was, but there were too many sprites on screen to render.
Right.
And so what eventually happens, though, is that they wanted it to go at a certain speed, but the game wouldn't allow it to render. However, as less sprites were on the screen, then it gets faster and faster, and it's like, oh, well, this is great, because now it increases the challenge as the game goes along.
Right.
But that was a hardware limitation more than a bug itself. But
I mean, it is definitely not something they intended, but when it comes down to it, it is iconic of that game.
And future versions of Space Invaders included mechanics like that. As you eliminate the little aliens as they come across the screen, it naturally does get faster. So it became something that, even without the hardware limitations, they kept doing throughout the series. So this one is, it might actually be apocryphal, but it is also very well known, is Ghandi in Civilization. So,
yes.
Yeah. So the way the story goes, and it might not be true. I was reading some stuff that this might not actually be true, but the story goes that in the original Civilization, the leader of the Indian faction was Ghandi, and he originally had his aggression set to one of the lowest denominations. He had, set down to 1.
Right, because pacifist.
Yeah, he's a pacifist. And then they decided that the factions were, too aggressive, and so they decided that they were going to set everything down 2 for the aggression scale. But what that actually does for Ghandi is it puts him at -1, or essentially glitches him over to the extreme end of the aggression scale. So now all he wants to do is drop nukes on you all the time.
Right.
Now,
and they kept it.
They did keep it. Now, there is a possibility that was an urban legend that a very angry, frustrated gamer had after losing to Ghandi once or twice. But it became such a fascinating, meme that the Sid Meier's Civilization series just left it. And in every future iteration, Ghandi is the most aggressive of all the world leaders by nature. The one that
I'm sure he would not approve.
He probably wouldn't, but
he would strongly and silently not approve.
And then all of a sudden, a nuke drops on your head. So, and it's from Ghandi. One that I remembered somebody talking to me about, by which I mean I read a comment and I was like, oh yeah, comes from...
Yeah, the comments are talking to you. It's okay.
The comments are talking to me. They're all in my head. It's a voice. The point is, the voice in my head reminded me about reverse pickpocketing in Fallout.
Ah, yes. Grenades.
Yes, but what happened in the Fallout was that you could pickpocket somebody, and it would just open inventories. And they never really assumed that anyone would think to themselves, hey, what if I put something from my inventory into the NPC's inventory? It was always supposed to be the other way around. And then some players thought to themselves, ooh, what if I put a live grenade from my inventory into the NPC's inventory? Oh, it causes the grenade to explode and blow the character up.
Right.
Yes. So in future versions of Fallout, You could always reverse pickpocket people to the
I
point
think you
that
can
there
do
was-
that in Skyrim too. You can reverse pickpocket poisons.
Yes, you can. You can. To the point where there were actually perks you could take in Fallout to get that ability. Because I remember I was playing 3 a year or two ago, and I was like, ooh, I could reverse pickpocket a thing. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm not able to do this? And then I realized that there's actually, like, a perk you have to take in order for you to do that.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you can reverse pickpocket explosives now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
No,
congratulations, you unlock that ability.
no, it'd be great in Fallout 4 is if you can reverse pickpocket the mini nukes.
Oh, yeah.
Except then you would just kill yourself because suddenly nuke in the pocket.
Yeah. Good. That would be an amazing moment, though. Like, you were able to get one of the synths, and the synth just runs away from you while it has a nuke in the pocket, and you see, like, the giant mushroom cloud come up as it explodes.
That would be pretty great.
That would be great. That'd be great. It would be great if you could pickpocket death claws like that.
Oh, you could probably actually do that with the nuke grenade.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just do that and then boom.
Oh, the nuka grenades. Yeah, you can do
Yeah,
that with the
yeah.
nuka grenades. It's close enough.
Yeah. Now you need to go back and play Fallout 4 reverse pickpocketing nuke grenade build.
Yes. Yes. Well, there's a lot of stuff you can take in that for, like, chemist perks, too, to make them more powerful.
Just get a mod that gives you a ton of those grenades so you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all good. It's all good. But let's face it, Fallout wouldn't really be the series it was without that mechanic anymore, and you can see how much they love it because, yeah, as you said, it's something you can do in Skyrim, too. If you want to paralyze somebody, you could just put a potion of paralysis in their pocket, and then they just T-pose. They just fall backwards.
Yes.
And it's hilarious, and it's fascinating. Was it, I want to say Spiffing Brit did a video where he it was like, I can paralyze everybody in town.
He did. He
Like
paralyzed he paralyzed a couple hundred NPCs forever.
Yeah. Once you glitch and you get your alchemy up to like 7 million % effectiveness, it's pretty much all done.
That's one of those other ones too. Again, Bethesda in Skyrim where you can abuse the restoration glitch, yeah, to make equipment that is absolutely insane in its enchantments and potions that will just paralyze for literal weeks or so yeah, good stuff. I might have used that once or twice. Here's one I didn't know about, but I was fascinated, is, do you know that the whole premise of GTA was actually based on a glitch? Really?
Yeah. So, before they were Rockstar, the game company, I don't remember what they were called beforehand, but they...
before they were Rockstar.
Before they were Rockstar, insert title here, made a top-down racing game that was called Race and Chase. And
I feel like I remember that vaguely.
Race and Chase was basically, the idea was similar to the original GTA games that were like the top-down sandbox, but this would allow you to either play as like street racers or as the police. And so I guess you can kind of think of it as almost like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, but in a top-down version back in the day.
And PS1 graphics.
Yeah, that too. It was very arcane. But the thing about it is that when they programmed the AI into this thing, they found that the police were really super aggressive towards everything that was happening. And they were like, hey, this is actually kind of fun, where like it's an actual pursuit and things are going crazy and they're bringing out the big guns. That led them to create Grand Theft Auto, because they were like, well, we can use that framework as you being a criminal going around in this world, trying to, cause mayhem, and then the police just start sending out, like, helicopters and tanks after you, using that overly aggressive AI. And that's basically how the series became the series. So, all based on a glitch, which is fascinating.
Great. Glitches run the world.
A couple other good examples of this, actually. Minecraft. When I
Oh,
say
the creeper.
the creeper. The creeper was a pig.
Everyone knows the creeper. Yeah, it was a corrupted pig model.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a pig sitting down, but it ended up being upright in the coding. And it looked so weird that there was like a pig standing up that Notch turned it green, and it became the creeper model.
Then it stalks you. It tries to approach now from being out of sight.
Yes.
You will notice if you play Minecraft. I'm sure anyone who plays Minecraft and is listening to this already knows this, but it is actually written in for them that a creeper will try to approach you from not being seen, sneak up on you. So if you see one and it's kind of off in the distance, it won't approach.
Oh, okay.
It'll be kind of hiding. It'll try to hide. And then if it's close enough, it'll obviously try to attack you, but...
Oh, yeah. And that's why they kind of like pop out of nowhere, seemingly.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
They pop out a tss.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's... if you want a noise that'll trigger everybody that's played Minecraft,
Yeah.
it's just a sudden... tss. No.
Oh, no. That can't be good. That can't be good.
Shit, where is it?
Yeah. Oh, no. Something's gonna explode. I don't want explosions. And then...
Yeah, I can tell you as someone who has played Minecraft since beta, once you hear that telltale sound of a creeper right behind you, it's like, fuck.
Yeah, run in any direction. Whatever you have
Yeah.
to do. Get away.
Especially if you're near your home and you're like, no.
And they blow you, and they blow up the house, and they blow up your bed, and you're like, okay, now I can't rest.
You're like, fucker.
Damn you. Those exploding pigs that are upside down or upright. The other one that you're probably not familiar with, but I'll tell you anyway, is from Hitman, the new Hitman games.
I heard something about it and I cannot remember.
So, homing briefcase.
Yes, that is what I heard. I think I saw that on an Outside Xbox or Outside Extra.
Yes, I believe so. There are a few really good gaming lists. I'll try to leave them in the description down below from Gaming Bolt, What Culture, Outside Xbox that did a lot of that discuss these. But the Hitman briefcase is kind of great because the idea is there a spider.
Yeah, you got a nice spider on your green screen, Nathan.
1 second. Spider! No! Go away! There. Okay. Spider. That was a bug in itself.
That was literally a bug in the episode.
That was literally a bug in the episode.
You'll have to edit that out slightly for the podcast, I think. But it'll be great on video.
Oh, yeah. What happened to the bug? I have to find a
If
good
you were in
background for that.
Australia, you'd be staring at that.
Oh, yeah.
Going, don't fucking move.
Yeah, exactly.
As we were talking, who was it? I don't remember. One of the guys we were talking to in Australia. It wasn't Morgan, it was Peter?
It might have been Peter Sanderson.
Yeah, I think it was him. It's like, yeah, no, you just see the big spider in the corner, you just watch it. You just make sure it doesn't go anywhere you can't see it.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Just keep an eye on it. It's fine.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think I'll pass on that. Hey, you stay over in your corner.
Nobody puts spider in a corner.
I got it there. Okay, I don't the spider is now underneath my heater, so I think I don't think he's getting out now.
It's warm now. Anyways, back to the episode.
We were going to be talking... Sorry, enough with the foolishness of spiders. Let's talk about homing briefcases instead.
Yes, exactly.
But the idea is that when they first came out with this new trilogy of the Hitman games, the idea was that you would be able to throw any object. One of those objects was a briefcase, and for some reason in the coding, when you checked the briefcase, it would home in on the enemy's head, even if it was curved, even if they were moving down the street, whatever it was, the briefcase would just follow them anywhere. Now, the developers at IO Interactive were like, oh, that's a bug. We got to get rid of that. We'll do that. And they did, and there was an outcry. People were like, but the homing briefcase was great. And so they were like, oh, okay. So they ended up making an actual item that was like a weaponized item that was called the homing briefcase that you can use and will follow your target forever. It'll just slowly spin through the world.
I think that's more fun is when they go, okay, hold on, this was a bug. We're gonna fix the bug, but we're gonna make it a thing later on or in the same game that you can actually get that does the same thing but doesn't affect the entire game. It's like, we still need to fix this bug because it's a bug.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take that and make something properly from it that does what that did.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the examples, too, that we were just talking about were actually just that. The idea of really aggressive police in a racing game ending up being kind of great and becoming a series all of its own. The fact that you can actually put stuff back in people's pockets in Fallout. These are actually really interesting features that they kind of found out were interesting features because of the glitchy nature of it to begin with. If they didn't have the glitch, you wouldn't have realized what a fun feature it was that doesn't really break the game, but adds like this new mechanic into it previously. Generally, can you tell me, like, if you think there is a line between mistakes that just need to be fixed because they're too broken and ones that you can probably just leave in if people just like them enough, like if they're just funny?
That's a really hard line because obviously, like, Ghandi isn't necessarily broken because the difficulty of civilization is based on what you set and based on how you play. And if, for instance, if you don't want to play versus Ghandi, you can make sure you're not playing with Ghandi there. If you want to play Skyrim on an easier mode, the giants will still catapult you into the stratosphere if they hit you. So it's I guess it really depends on the nature of the bug and the glitch. If it's game breaking, I think it should probably be fixed.
Sure.
If like it utterly changes how the game should be played in a way that is not intended, that doesn't necessarily make it more fun. I think the biggest thing there is if it adds a sense of fun or hilarity to the game, it's fine.
Sure.
But if it's frustrating, it's not.
Right. And, I mean, since we're delving deeper, it is very much a design issue. If you find that it adds to the design of your game, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. But if it seems to inhibit what you planned on having the game be, it's gonna have to get patched. You would hope.
Right.
You would hope.
So, like, if the police just wasted you every single time in GTA because they were that aggressive, it'd be like, okay, we kind of need to tone it down.
Right, exactly. Or if there was a whole thing where the Space Invaders, it became slower instead of faster for some reason.
Right.
Or more sprites just ended up on screen or below you, or or it just rotated your little gun like 5 degrees every time. It's like, well, then it becomes practically unplayable if I have to do that. So I think that in a lot of ways, especially in the modern era, where games are, for better or worse, released in a semi-finished state and then players give feedback on it, this has a lot more to do with how the reaction from the public is. It doesn't necessarily even matter if it makes sense, which I don't even know how I feel about that, because I feel like some of these, like the homing briefcase is terrific because players said that we really need you to keep this, but from a perspective of this very gritty assassination game where Agent 47 needs to eliminate targets around the world, a homing briefcase makes no damn sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes precedent with the tone that the game is trying to give you.
Right.
I think one of the things, it's not a glitch, it's just them adding in a super powerful thing later, is Dead Space. I think has the secret finger guns.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
I don't remember how you get it. I know it's not a glitch. It's something they added in. But it doesn't really mesh with the tone of the game, I don't think. Like, it's super silly.
Mm.
And it's super powerful.
Yes, it is. It is.
But is it fun?
I mean, yeah, because it's finger guns. So
But
there's that.
You know, it's one of those things. Is it fun and does it mesh with the tone? I don't think it meshes with the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's supposed to be a space kind of horror game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. It's not a glitch, obviously. They added that in. This is something they specifically added.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a little different. But you kind of get where I'm coming from. Also, the
Sure.
finger guns. Pew pew.
Yeah.
And just murdering everything is great.
That is terrific. It also reminds me of when they added in the tofu mode in what was it, Resident Evil? I don't know if you remember that, but it's like
No.
after you play like the initial story, and I can't remember which Resident Evil it was, but there was like the initial story, there was Ava's story, and after you play through all of that, you can play as a block of tofu armed only with a knife. And
Right.
if you beat that, you get like the secret ending, which I think that's how that worked, where you find out that the whole game was just a dog sitting at the control panel, and that was like the secret.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you know, one glitch we did not mention
Oh.
is actually very famous, and that's Pokemon.
Oh, the missing no.
Missing no.
Missing no.
Which is a glitch from the coding of the Pokédex, essentially.
Yes.
But also has a tie-in to the fact that, you know, this is famous, is the missing no glitch is a Pokédex entry because they didn't program it correctly for that. But also the fact that it will duplicate the item in your, like, 6th slot of your bag.
Oh, yeah.
Like 99 times. Like,
Yeah.
it'll just duplicate that. And so it's a duplication as well. But catching missing no can corrupt the data of your game occasionally if you do that and save it.
Yeah, but if it means I get 999 Master Balls, it was worth it.
Yeah. It's Master Balls and Rare Candy. But that is a well-known glitch that, you know, obviously nowadays you could patch something like that out. But back in those days, it was physical hardware. Offline game, so you could not patch that out. I actually don't know in the digital editions if they patched that. I'm sure they did not, because people would rail.
Yeah.
People would rail against that, and they'd be like, Nintendo, what the shit?
Than
they're already going, what the shit, Nintendo?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, in some ways, Game Freak kind of dropped the ball by not just giving Missing No a full entry and backstory and just making it a catchable Pokemon, like a super rare Pokemon.
It is catchable. You can catch them, and it will occasionally evolve into a Kangaskhan.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know if you ever knew that.
No. Does that
Yes.
Does that mean it's the little Kanga character, the baby Kangaskhan that's in the pouch?
I don't know.
I want to say.
But, so fun fact is I actually had one forever ago. I think that my friend traded me that was a caught missing no.
Yeah.
That evolved. You give it a rare candy, it evolves into a Kangaskhan, and it can know fly and surf.
Of course.
Because, obviously Kangaskhan needs both.
Right. And then you have fly and surf. So basically at that point, your missing no has allowed you to travel the entirety of the Kanto region. Everywhere.
Pretty much.
You can just go
Anyways.
everywhere. But anyway. So yeah, glitches is a feature. I guess the lesson that we can take away from that is if you're building a game, and you find that something is actually going wrong, and there's a mechanic that seems like it is broken, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's just a feature. And keep it.
Maybe the entire podcast is a broken feature.
That's true. Error 404, podcast
not found. If we ever get this podcast up to 404 episodes,
It's just the error
404 is going to be the podcast not found.
And that's going to be the glitchiest episode we have ever done.
It will. It'll be the missing no of episodes.
Missing no of episodes. That's what we have to remember to call it for that. Finally on the show today, as in many shows, we have a one more thing. And today's one more thing is a subject I feel is pretty near and dear to most gamers' hearts, which is about an acceptable level of bugs. So, not just the bug that I had here, but in a lot of the big open world games especially that we've played, at least that I've played, you come to realize that there are going to be some glitches, some issues.
I feel like in any game there are some levels of bugs that you're going to have occasionally.
Right.
You can QA and get as many of those as you want out, but you're never going to get 100% of those out.
Yeah. You mean QC.
QA is quality assurance.
Oh, okay.
QA testing.
Quality control, quality assurance. Yeah, I can see.
About the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Whichever one you decide to use, both of them are acceptable.
I like QT.
Yeah, keep it on the quick time. Anyway. Anywho, in you see a lot of it in open world only because of the nature of an open world game. There's a lot of problems that can happen with them. But I mean, you'll even see them in Souls-likes or in roguelikes, obviously, which is that the more complicated your game becomes, the harder it is to catch every single bug and glitch that are going to be in the mechanical framework of your game. Yeah, that's basically it. But there is a certain point, I think, where we go from being able to just kind of overlook the problems with the game, those technical issues, to the point where the game is just not really playable in that form, and it needs to be addressed. So, on this one more thing, we're going to be discussing maybe some of those bugs that really are either innocuous enough that you just kind of get around them, they're okay, and the ones that are just absolutely not going to function for the game itself, kind of make the game unplayable.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a bug that is, alright, well that's whatever, and a bug that's like, well, this game is now broken, and I cannot play.
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious examples are going to be when you literally have the game freezing on you constantly.
Yeah, freezing, stuttering, the screen tearing excessively, stuff like that. That's usually optimization issues on the game's end.
Yes.
Or on your rig's end, essentially, sometimes as well. Sometimes changing your graphics settings can help with that on PC.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I was recently playing Diablo 2 Remastered.
Oh.
Because I did pick it up on sale. I was telling you, but... and I was like, wow, this is really stuttering a lot. And I was like, hold on. What if I change my screen resolution? And because my desktop was natively set to 4K, and I was like, all right, well, I don't need it 4K. Let's try it in 2K? 2K. So I downscaled to 2K again, and then I was like, all right, let's try it. And I was like, oh, this runs smooth as fuck now.
Yeah. And, that's just a lot of those issues can, if you play around with the settings, they can usually, get settled. Especially in the era where we have things like ray tracing. And that has a tendency to mess with the memory.
Yeah, that takes a lot of GPU.
Yeah. In fact, if you go and watch, like, Spiff do some of the glitches that he talks about, one of the ways that you can do it in some of those games is by creating a program that just ties up your memory entirely.
Oh,
so that it slows the memory down enough that you can like either quit out of the game before something happens to duplicate items, things like that. It's an exploit essentially.
Yes, those are just machine programs that are designed to just like ramp up your RAM and CPU usage, to slow the game down so far that you can just make it do things that it's not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because like basically it's like when you play Magic the Gathering, you're like, all right, I'm gonna put a spell in the stack and another spell in the stack, and now all these are going to resolve.
Yeah.
Because you're
Immediately.
basically the game is like, all right, well, all of these things happen at the same time.
Right.
Because you normally in real time the game would be like, all right, we can calculate this fast enough.
Yeah.
But if you tie up all your system resources enough that it can't, it's like, all right, well now I have to calculate all these things before it like does it.
Yeah, it's you can usually do it when it comes to autosave features. That's a really good one, because if it needs to like copy an item, and it starts by actually saving the item where it's copied to, and then saves it where it saves that it has been taken out of the inventory, but you cut it off before it does that. Sort of like, actually, since we were talking about Pokemon, there was a whole thing where you could duplicate Pokemon over the sharing cable.
Over
in
the
the
link
individual.
cable, yeah.
Yeah, the link
Because
cable.
you'd do it and you'd turn off your system before like you sent it or whatever like that, like during the send, but before you received theirs or whatever. I don't remember, but yes.
I think I successfully did it with one of my friends' games, and it was that whole thing, like, when it goes into transition, after it's seen, like, over on the other one, if you disconnect it from the original cable, and then you disconnect it from the other one once the transfer goes through, it still says that your Pokemon is on the original, but it will also now show it in the second one, so you can duplicate it that way.
Right.
So, but those are intentional. What we're really getting to is the ones that you're not intentionally trying to manipulate or exploit, the ones that you just have to work around. And those are usually annoying. I've had several times where I was playing games and you end up trapped in a wall. That's pretty much an ender for me.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can do once you get trapped in a wall. And in ones that I didn't expect, like Plague Tale, of all places, I remember there was this weird thing where, I'm just going up the castle in Plague Tale Innocence,
As one
and
does.
yeah, you're going up the stairs of the castle, and all of a sudden I'm actually like I phased through the steps. I guess there was like a tear, or there was the hitbox was like through. I get under the stairs, and now I'm like behind the framework of the castle, like underneath the staircase, and I had to restart because there was no way for me to get back. Sometimes I'm able to like get back into the game world itself instead of being outside the boundaries, but this time I couldn't do it. It was not
Yeah,
possible.
it's definitely not so fun when you have big glaring issues where you can tear through the physical model of the world and get below the scenery. And sometimes it's like, okay, cool, you can explore a little bit, but it's like if you cannot get back, or if it's a game that has an autosave feature and you can no longer get back, it's like, all right, well, that is a game-breaking thing.
Yeah, especially if it only uses autosaves and it autosaves while you're in there.
I assume Plague Tale did this?
No, because it will do well, it would allow you to do manual saves, but it would also autosave you at the beginning of chapters.
Okay. See, that's where the feature in MMOs, for instance, usually is the unstuck feature.
Yeah.
For those games where it's like, all right, we're gonna just, if you're stuck, use this feature. It will, like, basically teleport you to the nearest graveyard, essentially, or whatever. It's some place that's nearby that's not somehow stuck. And it's pretty hard to get stuck in those games a lot of times, especially like the bigger ones that are well done. But the feature is still there so that you don't have to write a ticket and be like, I need support. It's like,
Right.
This can do it for you. Don't tie up our support with just moving your character.
Yeah, exactly. And that is one of those reactions where the designers are like, we understand that this is going to happen. The game world is very large. There's a lot of assets in there, and it's almost impossible to get everything. So we're going to create a mechanic, essentially like the unstuck feature, to work around that, because we know that it's a common problem that we just can't account for every single time.
Right. Every nook and cranny cannot be investigated.
Right, exactly. When it came to Skyrim, which is always a good example for this, because it is still one of the most iconic video games of all time, but is also just rife with issues. Um,
No way.
one of the things I realized was so very vital is that when you end up stuck on the terrain or you can't get out, luckily there's a fast travel feature. And so as
Right.
long as you can open up your map and you can go to any other place, you can just fast travel to some other place and it resets you where you need to
Or if
be.
you're on PC, just open up the console and do a COC command.
Yeah, whatever you need to do. Whatever you need to
So
do.
it's really hard. The other thing with that, if you don't want to open up and cheat entirely by COC commands and you can't fast travel, or if you just whatever, you can, generally speaking, break the game a bit with quick saves and quick loads occasionally.
Yes, that's how you can phase through walls if you actually wanted to.
And to
Certain
sequence
areas.
break the game, generally.
Yeah. The only times that I've actually seen that used as an exploit, I think, is like when a mitten squad will have to do a challenge video and get through a situation that you really can't get through otherwise.
Yeah, I've seen him do that quite a bit.
Yeah, especially if you have 2 points on the map that are close enough together that you can just essentially just quick save scum your way through the feature.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
happens
fine.
happens in Fallout a lot. You just kind of go along with it. So those are the real big problem ones where either your game freezes, your game closes out, they corrupt your save file, you get into a position where you can't get out. Those are things that are just not going to work because your game's gonna break. You can't enjoy the game if that happens. Now, there's the part where we'd have to talk about glitches that are not necessarily game-breaking, but might keep you from playing.
Well, I can also think of some that aren't game-breaking and you don't really mind, but are a bit irritating as well. And those, to me, are UI.
Okay.
UI, UX, user interface bugs where perhaps text is cut off and spots is not optimized or does not fit where it's supposed to. I was playing Lost Ark. I haven't really played in a while. I'm probably not going to go back to it at this point just because it's very pay to win at this point. There's no more vertical progression. It's mostly horizontal, and I got bored of it. So, horizontal's fine if it's fun. Anywho's, so one of the things with that, because it's a Korean game and it's brought over here, and so the English is sometimes text will run off out of the boxes, out of the places it needs to be. So it's like, all right, well, this now is cut off, and I have no idea what the rest of this sentence says, and that's annoying, but not game-breaking.
Yeah.
You can generally infer the rest of the information if you need to.
Sure.
But sometimes you're like, all right, well, it says this thing here, and it's cut off here, but it keeps going past, and it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Things like that are UI, UX, and text dialogue are not really game-breaking, typically.
No. One of the ones that I found was our good old friend Cyberpunk. If you are looking at item descriptions, for some if you're in the right spot when you're in inventory, the description of the item will be like above the visual part of the screen. If you're comparing it to another item, and
I don't like
annoying.
it when games do stuff like that. It's like, all right, well, the text is now going down off the screen. It's like, listen, you don't need to necessarily have the text box pop up based on where the icon is in my inventory. Just have it generally pop up in the same spot for everything, and it's fine.
Yeah. I see that on far too many games where they really insist on like keeping it like near where your pointer is at the time or whatever, and it's like you really don't need to do that. You can just you can have a spot that says currently equipped, and the item that you're looking at, especially for comparisons, because it
Yeah.
pops up, it just takes up so much room where it is, and keeps me from seeing any other items that are around it as well.
Right. And that is annoying.
It is annoying. One that I don't necessarily think is game breaking, but is definitely annoying to the point where I might need to reload a game, is if suddenly you get slowdown. One time I was playing Wasteland 3, which is a great game, but there's this whole thing where you can't save in the middle of combats. So if you're in the middle of a combat, it's not going to save or autosave until the combat is over. There's no way to save in the middle of it. When I was in the middle of a very large combat, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but the game ended up slowing down to a crawl. Like we're talking about 3 frames a second or something.
Ouch.
It's just like 3. Yeah, it's just doing this. And so doing these attacks, one round of combat that usually would take like a minute is now like 10 minutes to do a round of combat. And I'm like, oh no, and I'm halfway through this combat. Like oh, I'm so close. I'm just so close, and I don't know if I want to stop. If I can finish this up. But it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, now I'm just waiting. It's not my hardware. My hardware's fine, but the game has just decided that it's like running low on memory for whatever this is. And now it's deciding that it doesn't want to do this anymore. So
Right.
I had to reload from what my previous save was, go back to the beginning of the combat, or whatever I had for an autosave. I think it was further back than that. Because although the game wasn't broken, it sure as hell was broken enough for me to the point where it was not going to work. I can't do that. Those slowdowns and optimization issues, especially with long load screens when it does not require those long load screens because it has not been properly optimized, are just, I find them more annoying now as I get older than I used to. Because I sit there and I see some of the games that I play now. It's like, oh yeah, these are going to be pretty easy. They're processor light. I kind of figured, they're processor like indie games. They're not big games. And then when the loading screen takes forever, I'm like, no one did optimization on this at all. And I don't know why does it take so long for me to go from one transition screen to another? There was a game that I played that was an isometric one, and I want to say that it was it Deadfire? No, it was the game that came before Deadfire. Now I can't remember what it was called. I'll think of it. Don't worry. I'll splice it in later. But it was, for all intents, it was very good, kind of like Baldur's Gate. But there were so many screens for transitions that I would have to, go into a town. There's a loading screen to get into this section of town. Then I transfer over. It takes me less time to go through this area to the next loading screen, to the next part of the area. And I sat there thinking to myself, why can't I just automatically go to these areas?
Right.
And then the worst part is that you enter into a new area every time I go through a door. Now I'm going through a door into a tavern. There was one part where I was like, in order to just go back from completing a quest to the place that the quest giver was so that I can turn it in, I had to go through 7 load screens to get from one to another because there was no other way to fast travel there. Each one of those load screens was a good minute. So, and the actual playtime I had was probably about 30 seconds. Just like here to here, load screen, here to here, load screen, here to here. And I sit there and I kind of go, there was a way you could have optimized this. I could have just jumped closer, or they could have done what they did with Original Sin, which is just make big maps that are just the whole map. So once it's loaded, I'm probably not going to have to do individual load screens.
Yeah.
But those are technical problems, but I feel like they do kind of fall into optimization issues and glitches because I don't think it's the gaming experience that the developers really intended at the front.
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of game designers that say I want my players to just be in a load screen for the entire game.
I hope not.
I certainly hope not, unless that's like one of those Eternal Darkness things where they do it intentionally to make you freak out. So there are a few different mechanics where it's just annoying, and I want to stop. And then there are just the weird ones.
There's always weird ones.
There are just the weird ones where people are just sitting up on the back of chairs, or just like hovering out off in the ceiling, or you see particle effects. That's a common one too.
Right.
An explosion happens, and then there are just particle effects just in the air that just freeze in place
forever. It's dust motes.
Just
Except explosions.
Giant glowing dust motes in the sky. Those are... I've just learned to overlook any of that to the point where I don't necessarily even notice it. It's very rare that I, like, make a note of it. I only think about it when I go back and think about it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, people are just doing something weird, or what did I just play? I went to Skyrim for a second because I got bored, and then I didn't play very long because I was still bored. But I noticed that there was a part of my helmet that was supposed to go down to the character model, but it was clear, so I could see through my own head, just to kind of get an idea that there's nothing going on in there. Just I could see through my helmet all the way to the other side. Those are ones that I just note, and I just kind of go, meh, doesn't really affect anything about my game, so I'm not going to worry about it. It's not taken away from my time. But I think mostly it's user interface stuff that gets a little annoying, and I can overlook a lot of it. I've just kind of gotten used to it over the course of time. Do you think that there's any kind of like a magic number to hit in terms of we've eliminated X number of glitches, we can ship this?
I'd say probably like at least 80%.
Yeah.
You know, if you've eliminated 80% of the bugs and glitches from your game, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm
sure it's supposed to be higher, but
I mean, if it's Bethesda, if they can do at least 10%.
Yeah, if they can do at least 10%,
that would be great. That would have helped out Fallout 76 tremendously.
It would have.
It really would have. Actually, one of the things that I do consider game breaking happened in 76, which is that the servers keep crashing. Because if you're in an online game only, and the servers keep crashing, I keep getting jetted out of my game. And it doesn't save all of my stuff. I hated that. So I can accept... I guess the takeaway is I can accept that there are going to be bugs in games. It's inevitable. It happens. We get that. But you would... At least I hope that there's enough quality control going on that they will make it playable and make me not want to throw my controller across the room.
What? No, you've got to.
You got to. Yeah. We'll just send the book out saying "The Wizard." It's great.
It's great. It's fine. This is fine.
It's great. It's 16 times the detail.
That's a lot of detail.
It was not enough at the same time.
Also not enough.
Also not enough. I feel like we glitched out enough for the day.
Did we?
Uh,
Did we?
so, yes.
Beep, beep, up, beep.
Bleep bloop.
Beep, boop, beep, boop.
Sorry, I'm Clippy. How can I help you today? It looks like you're having trouble with your internet connection. Can I help you?
Oh, God. Clippy, no.
No, Clippy. Hey, Clippy. I'd like to tell you about my Lord and Savior, MacOS X. You don't even work on MacOS X. Anyway. No,
Clippy, no.
Clippy's Lord and Savior would just be Linux.
Probably would be, actually.
Yeah, probably would. Anyway, so Alex, if people would like to see shows that have absolutely no glitches or flaws in them, where could they go?
Glitches, flaws, shows without any of them? Netflix?
Dun dun.
Dun dun. You can go to TotalPebbleKnockdown.com, where we have all of our shows up on the website.
That's true. We do have all of the shows on the website that we are on as we speak. You can click over there and find not only Total Pebble Knockdown, but any of the other programs and projects that we work on over here. And you can click on our Patreon banner because there are full video episodes that release before the individual ones ever do. And all of the premium content, i.e. the shit that we don't actually put into the episodes themselves. You can find it all over there. And you can also find us on those podcast apps. All of them.
All of them. Most of them. If we're not on one, let us know and we'll get on it.
Yeah, most of them aggregate anyway, so I think we've figured out how to be on them. If you are listening to us on Anchor, there's also a way for you to leave voicemail clips.
Clips, that's what they're called now.
Yeah. You can
leave me a voicemail at the tone.
You can page us at...
Nathan's got a pager. We'll leave his number down in the comments.
We need a little thing to scroll on the screen for a pager for Total Pebble Knockdown. That would be great. We need a Total Pager Knockdown. Let's do that. Okay, but until we get the pager, you can also find us on the podcast apps. You can also find us on social media. I am at Satanium.
I am at EXP Limited, and the show is at Pebble Knockdown.
That's right, for all of your pebbly needs. And so, with that, we are going to Error 404 ourselves out of this place. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TPK, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.